Hello, and welcome to another episode of Let's Chat About Aging in Your Community. My name is Christina Bisanz, and I'm the CEO of CHATS, Community and Home Assistance to Seniors, and your podcast host. Today, we have a couple of guests with us who are going to be talking about some specific programs and services that CHATS offers to older adults in the community to help enable them to be able to live well and safely in their own homes as long as possible. CHATS is a local organization, but many of the issues that we talk about really have national or even global importance. And I'm delighted to say that in looking at who's listening to our program, we've got people from all around the globe who, are very interested in issues related to aging, but most importantly, how we can support older adults to live their best lives with quality and dignity and staying in their own communities. Studies have shown that people want to be able to live in their own homes and communities as long as possible and out of long term care and certainly out of hospitals. And that really is a big part of CHAT's mandate. So, we're going to talk about a couple of those services that are enabling older adults to be able to do that. My guests today are Mark Lubberts and Alda Melo. And Mark, I'm going to start off with you just to give us a quick overview of your background and your title and what you do at CHATS.
Sure. Thank you, Christina. So I am the Client Services Supervisor for the Home Adaptation and Maintenance Program at CHATS, Community and Home Assistance to Seniors. I've been with CHATS for a little over 10 years, primarily doing safety assessments in home and coordinating service, which I know we'll get into shortly.
Thanks. And Alda.
Good morning. I'm the program lead and educator on our decluttering program here at CHATS. I'm an occupational therapist and I've worked in the community in the mental health sector for close to 20 years. Here at CHATS, specifically in this program, I've been here going on 9 years.
Well, I welcome you both and thank both of you for the work that you do for CHATS. We're going to start off with the Home Adaptation and Maintenance Program because that's kind of a general program to provide supports to our clients, older adults, to be able to stay in their own homes. Alda's program is a little bit more specialized when we get into some of the challenges that people have with respect to mental health and being able to cope and manage in their own homes. And it's kind of an extension of home adaptation and maintenance. But Mark, let's start with you and tell us a little bit about the program and how it works and the kinds of clients that you're serving.
Sure. So, the Home Adaptation and Maintenance Program, we do exactly what our name says. So we help coordinate adaptations for clients as well as property maintenance. There's a limited scope to each, but primarily we're serving clients who are 55 and over, older adults 55 and over. We do have some clients who are younger who have what we term age-related illnesses. We've had some clients in their 40s with medical conditions like MS or Parkinson's, those kind of things. They need support. Any of those mobility or neurological challenges. But in addition to helping clients directly, our programs are also designed to help support caregivers. These clients can't potentially shovel their driveway or cut their grass, or they may need support with grab bars in the home for bathing. So the services we provide both help those clients directly as well as support the caregivers who are supporting them in their home.
So, when you talk about home maintenance, you mentioned snow removal, lawn care, that sort of thing. Um, People can obviously get those kinds of services on their own. What's the advantage of working through chats to have chats coordinate those services?
Yeah, great question. We get that question regular from our clients calling in. So for clients who are eligible, there could be a subsidy, like financial subsidies that are available. We would do a financial assessment to determine that. But even if they didn't qualify for financial assistance through chats, the coordination service that we offer is at no extra cost. So we will always start by doing a free and home safety assessment. We'll design a service plan with the clients and caregivers. And if what they want is lawn and snow quotes, we'll get those quotes for the clients all the cost goes back to our service providers. They're fully insured, fully screened. Our team at Chats is here to handle the billing, get the quotes, make sure the quotes are kind of appropriate, and that the service goes smoothly at no additional cost. So we offer that benefit. It's consumer protection. We make sure the service providers are who they say they are, they're insured, everybody's protected. We make sure the billing is correct, and also the care and service that has been agreed upon is actually being delivered as stated.
And the adaptation part of it, what does that involve? Walk us through, if I were to call Chats today and ask about home adaptation, what's that look like?
Yep. So similarly, you'd call our team and we would provide an intake if you're not already registered. It's a simple process any of our team members can handle. We would then book a free in-home safety assessment with the client, caregiver, whoever wants to be involved. So often other members of the family or sometimes neighbors, whatever everyone consents to, and whoever they want involved in the service plan, will make sure that they're there and have a say. And then we'll come out there at the scheduled time, do an assessment of the actual lived environment, lived space, make some recommendations. We have the recommendations we make, but the client and family also have kind of their goals. So we're going to work together to make sure we design a service plan for things like grab bars, bath chairs, safety equipment, and we'll work on getting those quotes for the family and clients. We present those quotes to them, and then if approved, we'll make sure the service providers know it's been approved. And again, we handle that billing. So we're there from start to finish, right from intake to getting the quotes, service delivery, and billing. We're there every step of the way.
That's great. Now, we have had guests in the past, Sue Lance, who has written a book called Options Open, and Laura Tamblin Watts, who also has written a book about, talking about those tough issues with your parents. And both of them have recommended that it's actually a good idea to be proactive and not wait until you've had a fall or you've got some mobility challenges, but actually to start a little earlier in making some adjustments or accommodations in your house, so that rather than waiting for a crisis to suddenly have grab bars put in and so forth, you be proactive about that. Is that something that you're seeing happening more often, or are people still tending to wait until they absolutely have to make those adjustments?
Yeah, we still see both, but I think it is changing. It tends to be a bit of an older generation where maybe you don't want to talk about the money, you don't want to talk about health, kind of let everything be. We're seeing clients and families talking more, which is really encouraging to see, because we couldn't agree more. It's better to be proactive than reactive. So we are seeing people, the clients directly kind of look at what they want, where they want to be, and they're making these preventative choices, and the family's very much on board. I think it's a very positive trend.
Yes. Now, I know that a lot of people who are looking to be able to stay in their own homes really do need to have that support and know that that support is available to them. Is the Home Adaptation and Maintenance Program something that is broadly available across the province that you know of, or is Chats pretty unique in offering this service?
Yeah, Chats is quite unique. We do get calls from areas outside of York Region asking if there's a Chats branch in surrounding areas, Orangeville, Toronto. There are some programs that are comparable, and we do make referrals in North York area, for instance, but we are quite unique in what we offer, especially the not-for-profit aspect. We've seen some for-profit kind of comparable agencies, but the not-for-profit and focus on falls prevention is quite unique to Chats, the York Region and South Simcoe area.
Yeah. Now, there's a really nice element of the Home Adaptation and Maintenance Program, which we call HAMP, that really provides that little bit of extra support to clients. Do you want to talk about that? I'm
Is this the
thinking
handy
about
person?
your handyman service.
Handyman service, yes. So It's kind of a tag-on service to our regular scope. We do have a handyman or handy person service that we have added on. Every job is on a case-by-case basis, but sometimes people will call in and they just have these little jobs that they can't complete on their own. We're talking about things like changing light bulbs, changing smoke alarm batteries. We've had clients who have called in needing a curtain to be hung up or boxes moved, things like this that they just cannot do and don't have the support to be able to complete it. And if they tried, it could actually put them at risk of a fall, injury, those kind of things. So we will from time to time get these calls if we could come out and have a look. As long as it's low scope, low liability, we don't do electrical or plumbing, we'll go out there and have a look, and sometimes we can accommodate. There's no charge for it if we can accommodate. And it's amazing to just see how these things that you take for granted that most of us could do, it makes such a difference to people's lives, just to know they can call somebody, it's taken care of, and it's a job off the list. And I should
Yeah.
say, with the higher liability, plumbing and electrical, we don't do that through the program, but we do have a lot of contacts. So where we can't do it, we're often able to make referrals, a direct kind of warm handoff to a reliable service provider that they can work directly with the client with the service provider.
hmm a huge opportunity to really support people with having the choice to be able to stay in their homes, in their houses, um, with that kind of support. And both the outside services, lawn lawn care, as well as snow removal for walkways and driveways in the wintertime, and just those small things that need doing inside the house. And as you said, Mark, so important to safety, because the last thing we want people to be doing is standing on the rickety chair to reach up and try and change that light bulb. But at the same token, if that light bulb is out, that's creating a safety risk too, for trips and falls if you can't see
Absolutely.
properly.
And if I can
Yeah.
just quickly add, Christina, it all works in building that trust. We may get a call from a client who needs that light bulb changed. That's how they enter into chat service. That's how we go in and meet them. And then from there, maybe years down the road, they need grab bars or more, or they need our in-home support and they find out about transportation. It all comes back and it all connects.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
And it all connects to that 99% who consistently in surveys say the older adults who say they want to stay in their own homes. So let's shift a little bit, and move over to Alda, because the service that you offer is is taking sort of the basic support in the home, but addressing some real safety issues and challenges that some of the clients experience. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, so our decluttering program here at Chats, we work with individuals that have excessive amount of stuff, clutter, if you will, in their home that's causing some health and safety risks. So as the population ages and we start to lose some of our physical ability, it can become very challenging for people to sort of maintain their home, to do the upkeep, the cleaning. So our program is most of the time just working with individuals on the inside. So to do the sort of do the cleaning, putting things away, taking out the garbage, that type of thing. So it can be very easily, it doesn't take a lot of time for the clutter to sort of build up. And now you've got risk. And the risks can be many, fall risks, the ability to carry out activities of daily living in the home, whether that's having a shower, walking safely through their home. There are many. So the program works in collaboration with the client. We are a consent-driven program, and we're working in partnership with the client, their supports, other healthcare providers, community providers in the home, to sort of really increase the safety and the function in there, so that people can maintain, they can live longer and more comfortable in their homes.
hmm So we're not just talking about, I haven't done the dishes for a couple of days, or, I rather than putting my clothes in the laundry basket, I just throw them on a chair or something. It's more of a challenge for for these individuals?
Exactly. And clutter, does happen on a continuum. So our program, because, there is a distinction between being messy or disorganized and then having so much stuff in the home that you actually can't sleep in your bed anymore because it's being used as a storage area. You can't get that mobility device you so need because there is no space. There's no floor space. We don't have those 3 feet. Mobility devices it's a wheelchair even, you need a lot more space. So it becomes, our program is for individuals, and it's part of the eligibility criteria, that there's so much stuff in the home that it's starting to impact your ability to carry out activities of daily living. It's impacting safety. And again, like some of our clients, they're not able to receive the supports they need, personal support worker, for example, because it's not safe for the service provider organization to send in staff. So then that becomes our role, as long as the client's consenting, to go in, work with them. I do the assessment in collaboration with the client. Based on the assessment results, we create a care plan. We work from a harm reduction perspective. It's not about clearing the whole home out. That's not realistic. Everybody has stuff, and the clients that we work with, typically even after the intervention, they're always going to have more stuff than people without that strong attachment to items. But we create that plan and then provide hands-on support in the home as needed, if that's what's needed. Sometimes we go into homes where it's like you said, not just a couple of dishes, a couple times a week that the dishes have been done, or it's not just a couple of weeks the garbage has been taken out. We can be going into homes where you've got rooms and rooms full of unmanaged garbage. So we go in there, help them, resolve that. So give them sort of like a restart, if you will, to increase safety and function.
Mm-hmm. Now, often people will say, "Well, I'm just a pack rat. I just collect things." And do you find with the clients who are referred to the program that it's beyond just being a pack rat, that there's really an attachment to some of these items that people are hanging on? Like my son wants me to keep his beanie babies, like like I can't get rid of those beanie babies, but I think it's sometimes more than that
Yes.
brings the clients to you.
Exactly. And our clients do vary in the reasons that they connect with us. We're not a diagnostic specific program. So it's because very often when people think about clutter, they think hoarding automatically when they see that. So some of our clients do come in with hoarding behaviors or tendencies, and those are the folks that, yes, very often we hear they're talking about how they're a pack rat and they'll have a family member, mom, dad, a sibling, who also is. So there's lots of stuff in those homes, and very deep attachments, very hard for the individual to let go. But we also have folks coming onto the program that do not have any sort of hoarding tendencies. It could have exactly the same amount of stuff, if not more, as somebody with those hoarding behaviors, because you can get clutter that causes health and safety reasons for many reasons. So I mentioned aging is one, as we lose function, but if someone has actually losing function, or like sometimes changes in cognition, it's not uncommon to see clients in advanced stages of Alzheimer's to actually start engaging in hoarding behaviors. So that's, again, age-related there. But if you've had an acquired brain injury, depending what type or what part of the brain was impacted, you may actually now start to collect things and not let go. And if things are coming in and nothing is leaving, you start accumulating, and health and safety risks result. Mental health plays a big role. Again, people that have been in an extended period of a major depressive disorder, like they don't have the motivation, the ability to be able to wash the dishes, take out the garbage, really take care of the home. So it's quite varied, the individuals that come into our program, but they all meet that criteria where there's enough volume in there that it's causing health and safety risk. That's part of the eligibility. Yeah. And then the intervention, the care plan will look different depending what is going on with the individual, what's the reason for the stuff.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that that some of the clients who are experiencing extreme clutter or hoarding behaviors are also creating a situation. I should say they're creating, but the environment is creating a situation where care workers have a challenge getting into to
Yes.
help.
Yeah, exactly. The risks that clutter poses aren't limited to the individual living in the environment, but really anybody who comes in there. So care providers, our program, the decluttering program staff, as they go in there, handyman, if they have to go in and do some sort of repairs. So it really does, the risks extend far beyond the individual. Anybody in the environment, that could be other people living there, could be pets, and really the community at large. If you're living in a common space, apartment building, that type of thing, with shared walls, and if a fire, which is a big risk that you have when you have excessive clutter in a home, it's very hard to contain. The probability of being able to contain a fire to the room of origin is about 25%, compared to like 93% in non full homes. So lots of risks involved in having lots of stuff. And this is what we're dealing with, trying to help people reduce
Yeah.
that
And I
volume.
imagine that at a time when housing precarity is a real issue, a growing issue, particularly for older adults, that, if they're living in an environment that poses not only a risk to them, but also to other tenants, for example, that they could potentially be putting their housing at risk, right? Not just from a safety standpoint, but, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
eviction or
Housing stability or eviction risk is one of the very common reasons that people sometimes come onto our program.
So tell me about how people do get to access the program. Do they
So
call you or
So to be eligible to apply for the program, this program operates all throughout York Region. So individuals have to live in one of the 9 municipalities. They have to consent to the referral. And once that's established, they also have to, like I mentioned, there has to be enough stuff in there to be causing health and safety risks. So it's not just that it's disorganized or it's messy. For eligible individuals, this does not cost anything. It's fully funded, but the caveat there is that you've got to be living on low to moderate household income. And then typically there has to be some sort of ability to let go of some items, because if it's the stuff that's causing the risk, we really can't help. If something doesn't leave, if there's space, for us to be able to move things around, we work from a harm reduction perspective. And if we can help the individual reduce the health and safety risk in the home just by moving things around, great, we do some of that. But typically, something has to leave. So once the referral comes in, we connect with the individual being referred, explain the program, and then, as long as they consent, go out and and conduct an in-home assessment, assessing the individual where they're at, as well as their environment, and sort of looking at how that all meets up, identifying the risks. And then the care plan is set up in collaboration with the client, put in supports as needed. So a lot of our folks, if you're dealing with those more like the pack rats and have the hoarding behaviors, they're going to need, their intervention plan is going to look very different from people who don't have the behavior. So they typically will get some support from our client service workers here at CHATS with hands-on support on making those decisions about what stays, what goes. And that's over a period of 4 to 6 months. Some people, it's just squalor, where you've got a lot of garbage that it's not maintained for whatever reason, illness, so forth. Then those people can probably engage in what we call our safety day, when you can go in and remove, with their consent and their involvement, a larger amount of volume of items fairly quickly. Some people, so there's different components to the program, and our clients, depending on the needs, get different things. But some of the other components would be linking to mental health case management. If there's acquiring behaviors coming on where there's excessive amount of stuff that's coming in that they have no space for immediate use, and they're ready to work on some of those cognitions, those belief systems that are leading to them not only holding on to stuff but that they may not be using, but also bringing more in, then we also have supports around that and linkage all around. So we do coordinate and then refer people to other supports that they may need.
So referral is very important, not only to get people into the program, but also when they are in the program to be able to access other health and social service care if needed.
Exactly. Very often when I go in to do the assessment, I'm the first, people tell me all the time, I'm like the first person that's been in their home for years because there's a lot of stigma and shame about having to that much stuff in your home. And so I come across a lot of unmet needs. So yeah, referral, those connections are important.
Yeah, and we know the critical need for social engagement to help older adults be able to age well. And I can imagine that if, somebody is feeling that kind of shame or embarrassment, that not only are they living in an environment that's unsafe, but they're also adding the complexity of limiting their social engagement and involvement in a way that must contribute to more serious concerns for their health.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Individuals living with excessive amount of clutter tend to be, whether they're older adults or not, tend to be socially isolated and not have the support that others might. Those environments, having clutter sort of elicits very strong emotions from people, whether they're family members, sometimes even providers. And so we do find there's a lot of social isolation, definitely, in our client population.
So, as a member of the community, how could I help if I suspect that, my neighbor in the apartment or my next door neighbor in the house is in that kind of situation where they might need help? What could I get involved or should I get involved?
Um, yeah, it's tough because sometimes it's hard for people to accept the help. But I would say start off by talking to the individual and just sharing with them, taking that stance versus you need to do this or your home looks like this, but just sort of sharing the concerns that you have and being very objective that not your home has so much stuff in there, but like I'm concerned that I don't see any pathway, so I'm worried that you might fall. No, because there's no clear floor space. So starting sort of just sharing the concerns and eliciting from them, finding out do they have any concerns about their living conditions? What would they like to change? What help? Getting their story. So a lot of listening. What are they really looking for? Sometimes what they really need is not program. Sometimes there's higher priorities, healthcare needs. They actually need to be connected to a doctor. They're not taking medications because they can't find them when they're in amongst the stuff. That's a risk. So sometimes we gotta look at that first, but really just talking to them, listening them, and sharing that you're concerned and what they feel they need. And then if you get to a point where they think that they would like to talk to somebody, not committing to anything leaving the home, but just talk to someone about the home conditions and what led to this, then hey, of this great program at Chats, the decluttering program, and here's a phone number. Can I either call on your behalf, because you can with their consent as long as they agree? Can I call on your behalf and get the referral form, or would you like to call? So that's sort of very basic but important conversations to have as a starting point.
And what about connecting with, for example, the landlord or bylaws officers or firefighters, for example, who, are also going into a home and that could be at risk of fire, as you indicated earlier.
Exactly. So we actually get those just mentioned, all three are large referrers to our program because they stumble across full homes all the time that have a lot of risk in there, and fire risk is a big thing. Those folks do refer to us, and then again, when the client comes on, part of my role is figuring out, okay, what is your real risk? So what does fire want? And what needs to be done, and getting it. Same thing with landlords. Like, okay, your landlords refer to us, or we know you're on eviction list. With the client's consent, we involve. Those are the partners that we talk about in the program. So as long as we have consent, we all work together to decrease that risk. So finding out what is the real concern that the landlord bylaw fire has, and then creating a plan with the client onto how are we going to resolve that, and keeping those folks in the loop with the client's consent. So we're all working together.
Thank you. Now, I asked Mark the question of, whether there are other programs similar to this throughout the province or nationally that you're aware of, or is CHATS relatively unique in offering the decluttering program?
Across the province, and I have to say Canada, there isn't sufficient service, publicly funded service, to help individuals living with excessive clutter. But there are some. So in Ontario, that similar to Mark's HAMP program, there are some sister programs. There's a handful, but not enough. But people can definitely, depending on where you are, sort of do a little bit of research and see if there's something in your area.
So I think, both of you have reinforced the challenge that we're experiencing more broadly. And that's, in order to support people to be able to live in their own homes, to be able to stay in their own communities, out of hospitals, out of long-term care, we need to provide these kinds of programs. They are vital programs to helping people to be able to manage effectively on their own, because, with these kinds of supports, people can be safe and can continue to live in their own homes. And, yet we know that that's the objective. The challenge we have is we need to have the policies and the funding in place to enable people to access these services. And even where these services are available, we need to make sure that people are being navigated towards where they can become aware and become part of the service that's being provided.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I can't believe we've come to the end of our time, but I do want to give both of you an opportunity. If there's anything that you wanted to add that you didn't have an opportunity to say, talking about the programs that you're involved in.
The only thing I think I would say is it can be a real challenge, especially as a caregiver, to try and keep a loved one safe. The family dynamics can be frustrating sometimes. We have a hard time taking advice from the people closest to us, I think. So I would strongly recommend that both for clients or caregivers, if you're worried about someone's safety, reach out to an organization like CHATS or another one in your area. It's helpful to have an objective outside professional come in. It can do wonders in getting your family member, I think, on board, or getting them to see the safety concerns from a different perspective. It doesn't sound like nagging when it's coming from someone on the outside.
Yes. Yeah.
And I would say, to caregivers, clients, individuals living with excessive clutter, there's hope. Change can happen at any time. We just have to really be realistic and start small. And if you're a caregiver, really listening to your loved one and sort of meeting them where they're at as a starting point can go a long way.
Thank you both, Mark, Alda, for all the work that you do, the commitment and dedication that you have to the clients and the people that are served, and to making your programs more accessible. I know that both of you respond where you can with improvements and enhancements to make sure that people truly are able to have that choice and ability to live in their own homes and community. And we thank you both so much. And thanks to you too for tuning in to yet another episode of Let's Chat About Aging in Your Community. We hope that this has been informative and that you will reach out if you are aware of somebody who perhaps needs that little bit of extra support or even more support. And we thank you for your time and attention.